the faces of fans. Guru.
What up? What up? What up, troops? Week 9
Week 9.
ahead of us.
A lot of scoring.
But scoring bonanza.
A lot of trades, a lot of scoring.
Man, injuries a little bit.
Yeah, a few injuries. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Mojo will be here in a few minutes. I thought he had come. Thought he had come in. Oh, but let's tackle the Monday night's game first, real quick.
Sure.
So I will say, although I did lose in one game to the Guru, Monday night's game did work out for me because it helped me win the rest of my games. So I went 1-4, 1-5 this week. I'm sorry, 5-1. 5-1.
Man, I had a dope week, man. I ended up 11-2. Could have been 12-1 if Higgins or Burrow had just had one more connection, just one more with at least like 21 yards. That's all I needed. One reception, 21 yards, two receptions, 10, 11 yards, and I'd have been there. But hey, 11-2, nothing to sneeze at.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But, yeah, that game last night, man. We had Browns 32 and Bengals 13. Like, who saw that coming?
Exactly. I mean, I was not expecting them to shut. Well, Jamar Chase isn't there, but still, you got T. Higgins, you got
and Boyd, and Hurst, and Mixon. You got guys. They have guys on their squad that a lot of other teams wish they had on their squad. But even with all that, I mean, Joe Brisket, I think he only threw 6 times and connected on all 6 of his passes. Had Cooper looking good. Joe Mixon only had 8 runs. The Bengals only had the ball for 23 minutes. And, like I was talking about Cooper just now, when he's at home, he don't miss. The home games this year already, the 5 home games, he had 5 touchdowns in each one of those games. And he had 20-plus fantasy points on a half PPR status. So, I mean, that game was, crazy.
Yes, you have to play Cooper when he plays at home. Now, when he doesn't play at home, that's a whole nother story. I don't know what's going on with that.
And that goes back to his Dallas day.
Yes. Yeah. He likes to perform for the home crowd.
Yeah.
But real quick before we move on from Monday, what do you think happened? I mean, basically just kept the ball out of Burrow's hands, huh?
Nah, I ain't gonna lie. I did think that Cincinnati wasn't going to do as much, so I was nervous because my thing is when you have Joe Burrow on the other side, when you got Joe Burrow and you got Higgins, and I even throw Boyd and Hurst in there, it's just like with a lot of teams. If I'm playing against Buffalo, I'm running the ball. If I'm playing in Kansas City, I'm running the ball. When you're playing against a prolific Tier 1 quarterback and a high offensive team, you got to just run that ball, and that's exactly what they did. Nick Chubb and even Kareem Hunt made some appearances, and even DJ got in the game later on. So that's what they did. They kept the ball away from them and, walked away with the dub.
Yes. Well, that ended week 8. Fantasy players, we are getting well into who's going to be in playoffs. You got to look at your strategies. It's got to be a lot of, trade deadline is coming up. And we got a lot of trades, which may make a big difference. So what do you think some of the more interesting situations with the trades?
I mean, I don't know. They all were interesting in one way or another, even if it was defense, because that affects how you play certain people, tight end, slot guys. So let me see the trades. You have Chase Claypool to Chicago. You got Calvin Ridley, who got sent over to the Jags. We were in about Roquan Smith in Baltimore. Hines is in Buffalo. Naheem Hines, I'm sorry, is in Buffalo. Zach Moss went back to the Colts. Hawkinson, we all know, went to Minnesota. Jeff Wilson is in Miami. Will Jackson is the cornerback, and he went to Pitt. And then we have Chase Edmonds at Denver, but he still has a whole week to learn the playbook because they're off this week. You got AJ Klein. He's in Chicago, so they switched up with Klein and Smith. So you got Klein in Chicago now. Jacob Martin went to the Broncos. He's a Jets DB, and and then of course Hunt nowhere. Hunt stayed where he is, and Brandon Cook stayed where he is, and those are the main ones for me.
Well, Calvin Ridley isn't playing until 2023.
Well, in case we have dynasty viewers, people who have dynasty teams.
True.
That's why that's important. And to kind of let you know what the Falcons thought process is as well, and the Jaguars, let you know what their long-term options are, and how they might how certain people might feel. These guys on the field, I guess they have feelings. I guess they're human, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it gives Justin Fields another weapon.
Oh yeah.
So,
and he's coming to his own right now too. Chicago's offense is rising up, and you add Claypool. Fields doesn't, he could be a short intermediate pass catcher. You can run it from the backfield. Oh man, I'm kind of wheels up on Claypool right now, at least to see what's gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean, that can definitely make some noise over there. Deion Jackson, number 2, over in Deion Jackson over in Indianapolis
for the Colts.
Yeah. So with Chase
remember Zach Moss went to the Colts, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Zach Moss gonna be the 2. Is D-Jax gonna be the 2? They're gonna be both 2A and 2Bs. And Taylor's not really 100% like we discussed on Sunday, so that's gonna be hella interesting as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
And with Zach Moss, honestly, just to add, Zach Moss, it wasn't a matter of he's sorry; it was a matter of salaries, and it just worked out better for the Bills to get him out of there at this time. So, and then Akers is still in LA, just to make that backfield more interesting.
Yes.
He'll probably be cut in the next 20 seconds or so, but they say they're not going to cut him. They say they're going to roll and they're going to put him on the field. And I guess, a man going to do what a man going to do at that point.
Yes. Yeah. I'll tell you. Well, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't affect my fantasy teams too much, except for maybe a few people I may pick up if I'm able to.
It makes a difference for those who have Darrell Henderson. It just makes a difference. The K. Williams signing and just holding on to, and we do have some injuries. That we can go over. That it may play a role in those as well.
All right, let's roll into the injuries.
All right, we'll go straight in injuries. All right, cool. Well, let me see. Injuries, number 1. Of course, you have Mr. Kupp, who's day-to-day. So, we have to wait and see on that. Of course, that'll have an effect with Van Jefferson, and maybe Higbee got a little banged up as well. So it does make Van Jefferson look a little bit more appealing. Him and A-Rob second. We got Taylor with the twisted ankle. We already kind of discussed his backup roles. Andrews, maybe Mark Andrews may be okay. So then in his absence, likely stepped in and did what he did. And so did Duvernay in Baltimore. So that's something to pay attention to. And even D-Rob out there in Baltimore, because Bateman's going to be out for weeks. So that kind of puts it into question about the Baltimore offense, even with Gus Edwards being banged up. And, he had a mild hammy. And they say he's going to be, they say they don't know what's going to happen with him. So then that opens up the Drake window. It's just Baltimore's kind of, falling apart right now. Herb Smith, there's in Minnesota. He got placed on IR. Sorry to hear that. But, the Vikings moved quick when they swooped in and got Hawkinson.
Yeah.
Chuba Hubbard, he said he think he could play. But then again, last week, Swift, before the game, Swift actually said himself in Detroit, Swift said himself that he was not 100%. And so that was kind of like good looking out. He's letting all the fantasy football managers know, hey, bro, don't play me. Don't play me. And he ended up having, I think, only 5 runs and 5 targets. And then the last ones are the Bengals. Bengals defense lost Owizie and Flowers, which is going to be big. We don't know about Keenan Allen. He missed practice yesterday. Sam Hubbard from Cincinnati as well. That's a D lineman, his hand. So that's 3 people from Cincinnati's defense. And I know they were a popular pickup for the upcoming week. And then, D Campbell from Green Bay. Linebacker that's been lighting it up in Green Bay. He got hurt. Jordan Poyer from Buffalo got hurt. And now they're down 2 DBs. And then last week, I didn't notice, but the Cardinals were playing without 3 offensive linemen. So that kind of explains a little bit why Benjamin couldn't get going the way he, normally would have.
Yeah.
And then Chase Young and Tre'Davious White, they both back at practice. And so that'll be good for those respective teams, Chase Young, Washington, and Trey White, Buffalo. So that'll be good. And, it's a lot of injuries.
So let's look at some fantasy implications. Chargers, wide receivers. Got Mike Williams out.
Mm-hmm.
Keenan Allen still iffy. Who's your favorite play?
Palmer, no doubt. Palmer. He was at practice yesterday. He did a walkthrough. Well, it was a Monday walkthrough, so he did the walkthrough on Monday. So he's out there. And since it was a concussion, I don't know how it sounds, but I'd rather when my player has a concussion rather than an injury. So the concussion, as long as he's get up, he's mobile, he has mobility in his extremities, then that means he's quote unquote good, and it's just a matter of being cleared versus a lingering injury.
Yeah, and that's right. That's my play too. And
then Everett too. Don't forget, Everett's still a play out of Chargers camp.
I mean, and I also think it's good work for Eckler. He'll be getting a lot of targets as usual, but at least it'll keep up. He'll be coming back fresh off the bye. We have a lot. I know there's a lot of people who are probably thinking about Hawkinson. What do you think he's looking at over there? I mean, he's got a lot more. You got a lot more pass catchers there.
Yeah, well, there are more mouths to feed. However, I will say with Minnesota, one thing about it is that their offense. Their schedule. I like their schedule a lot more than Detroit's schedule upcoming for the quarterback and for the tight end position. And he goes from Goff to Cousins. I'll take that. And he goes from having to share with Amon-Ra St. Brown and to having to share with with JJ. And while that might be something to be concerned about, I still think that if they run their offense the right way, JJ will be on one side, Hawkinson will be on the other side. And if anybody suffers from this move, it'll actually probably be Adam Thielen. That'll probably be the only person that I can think that will suffer from this particular transaction. Everybody else, their roles will remain the same.
Okay. I mean, that's what I get. I'm a little. I don't want to say nervous. I don't really have much stock in Hockenson this year, but I did have Irv Smith on one team.
Damn,
I don't know how that happened. That was a bye week.
Hey, well, you can slide him in your IR. That's what I did earlier in one of my leagues. I slid him into my IR. He was my replacement week for Kelsey, and then I have Hockenson and Matt Prager in our league together. I have Hockenson. So we'll see.
Okay. So going forward, I mean, looking at fantasy strategies, we got bye weeks. We're coming up on everybody's pretty much understanding where they sit as far as team record, getting into the playoffs. Are there any special things that some of us seasoned fantasy players look at during this time? Mojo, welcome.
Yo. Happy Tuesday.
Welcome to the party. Welcome to the party. But yeah.
So I was just asking Guru, at this point in the season, fantasy players, everybody's kind of settling in on who has a shot at getting into the playoffs. Are there any sort of special strategies that you look at during this time of the season as a fantasy player?
Yeah, you definitely have to take an onward outlook onto the whole schedule. We know this week we have 6 teams on byes. You have the Browns, the Giants, Broncos, Cowboys, Niners, Steelers, and I think that was it. Yeah. So you have to plan ahead. Next week you have to pay attention to who you have coming up, and start looking towards your bench depth, and literally go through the football schedule and see, okay, next week who's going to be on bye. You know, what pivotal point is that? Is that my quarterback? Is that my tight end? And if so, start plugging people into your buys. Start putting people into your buy spots right now, and hopefully your bench is healthy enough. But if it's not, that's what the show's for, to help you figure out who you can pluck off of the waivers.
Yeah, at this point in the season for me, it's like I'm looking at some teams, a couple of teams, like, well, how far out of it am I? So at that point, I'm wondering, a lot of waiver wires are getting a little slim because of injuries and bye weeks. So you got to really be ready to put your claims in, especially if you're on the bottom half of that of the standings in your league. You want to go ahead, get your waiver claims put in. A lot of trade deadlines haven't come up. The NFL trade line today, but there's a lot of fantasy leagues where a trade line isn't there. So if you have a stud and you're in the bottom half of the standings, it might behoove you to put a trade out there, get the twofer.
You read my mind.
Yeah, give up your Josh Allen and get this guy.
Whoa, wait a minute.
I don't know about your Josh Allen, but
give up your Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, no, give up your Nick Chubb. No, sir. If you have a stud like that and you find yourself like 7th, 8th place in a 12-team league, it might be time to pull that trigger. There's still a lot of weeks left, but not so much in fantasy. And with the bye weeks, you could be sitting there playing Josh Allen and nobody else, really stuck with a squad full of 2-point getters, people that don't even touch the ball. So pull that trigger, get a twofer.
Let me add something to that. Also take into consideration not just what place you are, but what's your win record. Because like literally in one league that I'm in, I literally was going up against people who had their best days. I have the second highest points in the league, and I'm only out of first with the points in the league by only 4 points. 4, but yet I'm in 8th place now because first place team is 6-2. Second place team is 5-3. No, I'm sorry, 4. No, yeah, I'm sorry. The first one was 6-2, then 5-3, and then from 3 all the way down to I think 9 are all 4-4. So so technically, you have to position where you are, figure out where you are, because you might be, even though your record might be, it might say one thing in your rankings, might be towards the lower half. A couple of wins can catapult you from a low spectrum to a higher spectrum.
Right, and in that situation, I'm not dropping my stud because you obviously are capable of putting up the points. So you keep yours, you keep your team intact, and push through, and hopefully you get a couple of wins. I mean, everybody's not going to keep doing that to you. Well,
man,
you never know.
It's hurtful, man. It was hurtful. I was looking at it, and the cold part is I was in 10th place last week, and I had the third highest score, and I'm like, God, like, what is this? A mutiny?
Yeah, I got 2 leagues. I started off 0-4, and I'm now 4-4. So you can always get a couple of wins off in a row. And every time you get a win in a situation like that, especially with your points being so high, you're going to catapult up like 2 spots, 3 spots in a week.
Good advice. Good advice. Mojo, we ran through a few topics before you got here, but I'm really curious to know how you feel about some of these trades, how they may affect it. Were you able to keep up on any of them?
Yeah, I mean, obviously now the Bears are headed to the Super Bowl. They got
they can sit right next to me.
I haven't been really able to keep up with much of it. I've been working a lot, but yeah, who moved around? Because in the last couple of days, I've just been super busy. All I heard about Claypool. I know there were talks about Hunt, but I don't think no moves actually were made.
No, he didn't go anywhere. You got Nyheim Hines.
He did move.
Yes.
Because it was like an article I was trying to check during the day today, and it had him and Hunt in it. Where'd he go?
Indy. What? Indy. You mean to go through them again or make him watch the show?
Now give him a quick rundown.
I'll just go real quick. I'll go real quick. All right, so Chase Claypool, Chicago, and then Calvin Ridley went to Jacksonville for next year, and then Roquan Smith in Baltimore. Hines went to Buffalo. Hines to Buffalo. Zach Moss in return went to the Colts. Hawkinson went to Minnesota. Jeff Wilson is in Miami. Will Jackson is in Pitt. Chase Edmonds went to Denver. We'll talk about that in a minute. AJ Klein in that switch, he went over to Chicago as a linebacker. Jacob Martin went to the Broncos. And then that's it. Yeah, those are the main ones. I left out some of the defensives. But yeah.
Only one that sounds like it may have an effect is Hines and Moss. The rest of them, I don't see.
What?
You named a couple of names that they weren't doing nothing. They're not going to do nothing. They're going to another team. You go into Denver for what? Denver's not going to do anything. Russell Wilson is who we thought he was.
Nah.
So,
okay, listen. So now,
look, hey man, it's week what? Week 8. Trust me, I tried with that guy.
We all know how you feel about Russ, but this ain't about Russ. We're not talking about Russ.
Isn't it? I mean, come on, man. If I'm in that offense, I'm not excited about being traded here, buddy.
Yeah, well, you got Chase Edmonds, Melvin Gordon, and Murray. It has some implication because now it changes the spectrum. For those of you that picked up Murray last week, you might be concerned about that pickup now. It worked for you last week, but now it doesn't. And then also it makes Elijah Mitchell a much more important handcuff in San Fran with Jeff Wilson out the way. So, some of the other trades, they did have some implications.
I still like Murray, though. I still like Murray in that backfield. I think he's going to be the one that comes out. Yeah,
you should. Until
I'm playing him again this week. So, yeah.
Well, I don't think you're going to play him this week.
Well, next week.
Hawkinson's going to Minnesota. It frees up Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Come on, man. That's a stretch. What you're saying, I mean, I get it. It sounds nice. It sounds like, but you've been on St. Brown all year, and I mean,
well, he was hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, but Hawkinson, you really think he's that big of a factor that he's gonna really open up the whole game plan? The whole playbook is going to open up because Hawkinson came in town.
Philly snatched one of Chicago's Stud Smith. and Roquan Smith went over to Baltimore. So that downgrades Chicago defense significantly. Even with the addition of Klein, that downgrades Chicago's defense.
Yeah.
Who was already not too high.
Right. So again, is this making them a playoff team? No. So
no, but it helps people who are playing against them.
The effect of these trades, to me, not much effect. I mean, these are moves that people are making. Is either you're already in the hunt or you're not. The teams that are already in the hunt, they might add some depth like the Eagles did, but the ones that are just not really playing well as it is, I don't think the additions that they made outside of like maybe Hawkins, I don't see it really changing the landscape that much in the NFL.
Not to belabor it, what about the non-moves? The Cam Akers still in LA, Kareem Hunt still in Cleveland, Brandon Cooks is still in Houston, and he just tweeted a little while ago that he was very disappointed that he wasn't traded. What about those people?
What about them? Sit down and play ball. You are where you are, and you got a contract to fulfill. You got a check to earn. A lot of players probably want to be on different teams, especially if their team is trash. So, the reality of the thing is, I want a new job myself, but I don't have one. So this is where I am. I gotta get up and go do my job every day.
Hope you two bars are watching.
Reality fantasy.
Reality fantasy. The reality is they got a high-paying job to go do your job.
You can't pay your bills. That's it. That's all I'm telling you. Well, as we move on, I mean, so what are we looking at as far as we've gone through trades. We talked about some of the injuries. So what is that doing? It's Wednesday. It's Tuesday night. We got to make some. I got to make some waiver wire pickups. Who's looking? Who's the most enticing at this point? What are we looking at?
You want to start off with
I got a couple because I'm tight for a quarterback this week.
Let's start with quarterback. Mo always needs a quarterback.
I know exactly what he's gonna say. Go ahead and say it.
My man PJ, boy, I believe in him. Wait a minute. Did they get rid of DJ Moore or was that fake news?
Did they?
No, man, he's still there.
Yeah, I saw this joint today. I'm down here, Carolina representing, and I'm looking on the joint and it was like DJ Moore to somewhere. I was like, this can't be real. Not after that game he just had. Not after PJ. They already announced that PJ will be starting again. I believe in the kid. I like him as a waiver wire pickup. He's not even at the top. You got Heineke and Mariota above him. I think that's a mistake. I think if you go by the projections in most of these leagues, most of these platforms, you might lose out on picking up somebody that you could really use not only this week, but maybe down the line if you get some quarterback problems. And Heineke, definitely serviceable. With Wentz out of there, I'm thinking he might have actually solidified that job back. And they have weapons. Don't make a mistake there. The Commanders have a couple weapons for him and a half decent running game. I want to see Brian Robinson touch the ball a little more. But yeah, Heineke and PJ, those are my two guys this week I would target.
I'm a little surprised. I honestly thought you was gonna say I knew you was gonna say PJ, but I thought you was gonna say Fields in Chicago for whatever reason.
I don't believe in Chicago. We just got done talking about them. No belief.
I mean, okay. I mean, he is improving. He is improving since week 5, and then he
and it's not all him.
He has against Dallas. He had 26 points fantasy, no ends, and then he got the Lions and Carolina and Atlanta coming up next. And Atlanta actually, those three are the bottom 5 giving up points to the quarterback and wideouts combined. So
the problem I have with Fields, I mean, I like him. I think he's great. I think he'll be great one day, but his offensive line is ridiculous. Every game I watch with him, he's getting lit up. I mean, then he's getting up, almost not getting up. Like, come on, man. if you don't have an offensive line, I don't care how much talent you have, it's going to be difficult for you to put up points in fantasy and in real life.
Well, the couple other ones I would say real quick is Marcus Mariota. Remember, we're streaming, so he has 24. He's throwing the ball now. He wasn't throwing it at first, so that's been improving. Jay Goff has 18.6 half point PPRs over the past 3 weeks, and he has Packers, which means they're going to be throwing the ball a lot more. And then I would avoid Derek Carr because we saw what happened, and that was they didn't even get past half field until fourth quarter. And then there's Jimmy G. He's not playing this week, I already know, but he's somebody to pick up and take into consideration with his new weapons. Deebo Samuels will be back, and so I will say that. But yeah, those are the
good people. Guru, you got me in like week 2 with that Mariota talk. Leave that guy on the wire.
Did it work for you?
No, he didn't work for me. I had to drop him. You know what I'm saying? That's how much he didn't work for me. And he still's not doing anything. I don't believe that he's not. Nah. Garoppolo, I picked him up in 2 leagues. I have him. I ran him last week. So I would, even though he's on a bye, if you have a bye coming up after this, pick him up. San Francisco's offense is rolling.
I mean, you also got to look and see what the scoring format is because I hear what you're saying, but Marcus Mariota, I'm not a fan of Atlanta, obviously, Atlanta anything. But Marcus Mariota did have 24 half-point PPR fantasy points. So, I mean, he's scoring above the average of quarterbacks. He's scoring in the more top 1-2 tier of quarterbacks for fantasy purposes, and they are throwing the ball now. So.
And unless somebody in your league dropped Derek Carr like immediately after last week's game was an anomaly. The guy's been putting up excellent numbers the majority of the year. He had like 2 down weeks. I wouldn't have dropped him behind that game last week. He should have at least been on somebody's bench already. But if he's on there, I would, man, if he was on my wire, I'd pick him up.
Okay. Well, I have him on one of our rosters, so I'll see
What'd you say, Devontae? Who?
I'll see how bad you really want Derek Carr. I have him in one of our leagues.
And you drop him?
We'll talk afterward. No, we'll talk.
Oh,
see how bad you want him.
I'm frozen. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So how about running backs? Any major changes? Anybody that make a difference?
I mean, I'm waiting on everything. Hey, at the beginning of the show, I told Jay, I said I got a lot today. So
let's go. Let's go.
You want to go first, Mojo? And I'll clean it up.
It's slim pickings. The further down that the season gets, and the more running backs get hurt, it's slim pickings. Drake is falling back on to people's waivers wires. If you're really struggling for a running back this week, I would go Drake, McKinnon. You really want to stay away from these backfields, but you can't help it. As you know, I'm about to play 2 running backs on the same team this week. If one of them ain't get traded yet, but I'm playing Herbert and Montgomery. So you got to do what you have to do. Even if you got to pick up the other guy, like if he's getting 9 touches a week, just throw him in there, grab him off the wire. Any particular names? Connor might be on some people's wire. He may be playing. I don't believe he's going to do much, but you got Drake, Connor, McKinnon. Outside of that, you're going kind of deep.
Yeah. Well, some people watching the show might be in deeper leagues. That still is very helpful to them as well. I know earlier you said that you would still roll with Murray, and that's somebody to take into consideration. Again, looking forward. While we're looking forward, Jay Cook out of Buffalo. Now it's going to be interesting to see with the new addition, but Jay Cook, he was doing very well. He was on the field a lot. He had his 90 yards and 9.1, so that was serviceable. Swift, well, actually, you already have Swift, and Jamal Williams is probably rostered in most leagues, hopefully, and if not, he is the goal line threat. Tyler Algier, that's somebody in Atlanta. to be him. You know, he had 14 touches, and they got the Chargers on deck. But with that same conversation, you have Hadley as well, Hudley as well. So the Atlanta backs, and I know Cordero Patterson is on his way back, maybe. And
Maybe.
so, since I didn't get him, maybe not. But you have to take into consideration, and then Hilliard. Hilliard, somebody to take into consideration depending on how deep it is, because Titans are going up against Kansas City. They're probably going to be behind, which kind of it doesn't game. Well, you can't game script, the king out of the lineup, but it does open more opportunities for Hilliard being a pass catching back. I'm not interested in a Ronnie Rivers. I'm not interested in Darrell Henderson. I'm not interested in Akers. But Chuba Hubbard, he say he's going to play. He say he okay. So, and then how do you feel about the Mike Carter and the Ty Johnson in the Jets?
I'm a little disappointed. I expected a lot more out of Carter when Brees went down. So I don't know what they're doing. Like, it seemed like a natural transition when you get one guy goes out for the year, the guy that was running right behind him, you would just plug him on in. But now it's like they're trying to do a split, more of a split than they were when Hill was in there. So hopefully they go away from that. I think a part of that was the game situation. So they ended up throwing a lot more than they had been. So hopefully they get back to ground and pound this week. That would be nice.
And then the only thing
I'm not too excited about any of the Jets.
I know. You made that clear. I think you don't even want to fly on a fast plane. So
I was talking to a Jet fan this morning. I was telling about how unexcited.
Zach Wilson had a great week last week. I had him on my bench. I'm gonna drop him tonight.
Oh, okay.
They've been winning.
They'll stay there. The only three I wanted to add real quick was Isaiah Pacheco out of Kansas City. His increase in runs, and especially as coming out the bye. And they remember 2 weeks ago they said he was going to be the starting running back. So it's something to pay attention to. Rashard White as well with Fournette. That one I would probably hold off for maybe a couple of weeks, but still is an opportunity. And then the last one is Antonio Gibson for whatever reason. I know you mentioned Brian Robinson earlier, but he had 4 carries and 6 targets on the first downs, where Robinson only had 3 targets and he had no first down looks whatsoever. So I know you want to be Rob to get going, but you're gonna have to talk to the coaching staff.
Yeah, because we got to keep in mind it's a new coach, different quarterback, different ideas out there. So he may want to,
same quarterback for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah. And 2 definitely different running attacks. Yeah.
Well, I'm not happy, but I got a lot of stock in Brian Robinson, so I'm hoping something changes with that. But we'll see. We shall see. Wide receivers. Romeo Doubs.
Yeah,
Guru.
Yeah,
that's your man.
Yeah, Dobbs definitely. I mean, put it like this: last man standing. We don't know what's gonna happen. Who's gonna be available? Watson's in the concussion protocol. Lazard is up in the air. I mean, Lazard told us himself, "I'm not playing last week." So you don't know what's gonna be in it. You don't know what's gonna happen. And no matter how much they love Aaron Jones, you can't run Aaron Jones on every single play without burning him out. Another big one I like, we talked about it earlier, was Josh Palmer with Keenan Allen out, and with Mike Williams out and Keenan Allen up in the air. He didn't even practice yesterday. Josh Palmer is going to be a nice pickup as well. And there's a few more. You want to jump in first?
Yeah, there's a couple of receivers out in Baltimore that I would love to pick up, but I don't know what to expect out of that offense. They're running. I like what they did last week. They got away from Lamar doing everything. I got tired of it myself. I know a lot of fantasy owners got tired of it. People that own Bateman and these other guys. So hopefully they stick to that game plan. If they stick to that game plan, I think because there's probably at least two of their receivers on the wire because he wouldn't throw nobody the ball the first 5 or 6 weeks. So I would definitely maybe go after one of them. You could always, I know Jay won't like it, but you got your Corey Davises in the world.
Oh my God. I don't even like that one, and I'll be trying to defend the Jets.
You got your Wilson and your Corey Davis.
He's hurt.
If they get into, and there you go. So if you get into another game where he has to throw the ball, you got to throw it to somebody. So
Wilson
could get you through a bye week.
True. What do you guys feel about that Kadarius Toney trade?
I love it. I love confusing a wide receiver room.
Right.
But seriously though, the Kansas City receivers, you had MBS, he had 14.1 points fantasy wise. You had Hardman 3 touchdowns, but three receptions as well. And then now you put Toney in the mix of that, and I haven't even talked about Juju. So they're all to me the same.
The same receiver.
They're on the same tier. And if you like playing lotto and you like gambling, it's like at least a coin is 50-50. This is 25% opportunity. And then not to mention, let's not forget Mr. Kelce. So
right.
I would avoid them. In DFS, fantasy, I'm avoiding Kansas City wide receivers unless you already have Juju on your squad because he's the number one.
Yeah, and I can understand you wanting depth in your wide receiver room, but it's like they're going to try to give all of these guys a couple of touches. So in fantasy, that makes them all less useful. Not only that, I think, like you said, it confuses the whole wide receiver room. So, I know everybody, Pat Mahomes is this and Pat Mahomes is that, but you didn't improve anything, so you didn't get better. You are sitting on 2 losses on the year. So I don't know. I don't think it really helps them at all, but that's outside. That's reality, not fantasy. And it doesn't help me in fantasy. I think I have Juju in one league, and that's about it for Kansas City on my team.
Well, my number one pick is Mr. Moore out of Arizona. Rondale Moore. I have him in a couple leagues. He stepped up real big. He had 8 receptions with 97 yards. He used to be a boomer bust, but now he has basically catapulted and cemented himself as the number 2 option, only to D-Hop in the Arizona offense. And then you mentioned Devin Duvernay earlier. One thing I like about him also is his rushing ability because he had a rushing touchdown. And that's when you talked about Mr. Davis in New York, I was just going to reference the other guy in New York, G. Wilson, the phenom rookie, with something's going on. I don't know what it is, but Elijah Moore still, I guess for Halloween, he was playing a ghost because they're just not giving it to him. And he's, still having his temper tantrums. So, I don't know, but yeah.
We've been talking about him all year, and it still hasn't come to fruition.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, listen, real quick, I got to do some. On my end, my computer is frozen.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to come out and come back in as you guys go into kickers and defenses.
We still got TEs.
We're going to start with tight ends.
TEs.
All right, well, tight ends. So I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out and come back in, see if I can get this cleared up.
All right. Hey, when you leave, lock the door, Mo.
Finally, we got rid of
lock the door. Yeah. Hey, you know what I did want to mention before we switch over? Donovan Peoples-Jones is somebody to look into as well in the deeper league. He's has 70+ yards in the last 4 games. So. And then if you can hold on and wait, Slayton also from New York. All right, TEs.
TEs.
Pitts.
We got a couple out there. You got Likely, Conklin.
Yes.
Logan Thomas. These are guys that can at least get you a couple of points because, while you sitting there, like I was sitting there looking at my squad this morning and I'm like, wow, I have 3-4 people on a bye. and then I go to look at the person I'm playing, and they have 3-4 people on the bye.
Exactly. We talked
let's
about
see,
that earlier.
let's see who can come up with the best bum squad, and hopefully my bums at least have on new shoes and clean pants,
Well, as far as waivers, Evan Ingram is somebody I'm looking at. He's had 15.5 fantasy points in the past 3 games or higher, and he's running 100% of the routes. Like he does not come off the field, and so you got to love somebody who's on the field the whole time. My big guy picking up is Dosage. 3 weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row he's had 91% for targets. And it's only improving. I know we talked about Russell Wilson. I don't want you to go off on a tangent, but it is something you said last week. It's an NFL team with 53 grown men on there. Somebody has to catch the ball. And it sure as hell ain't Courtland Sutton. I know because I own him in half of my leagues. But we didn't talk about Jerry Jeudy, but those are just definitely one of the guys who is snatching the ball out of the air. He was the drive himself on Sunday morning if you were up that early, and I'm definitely somebody to take into consideration, somebody to look and to put on your squad.
And tight ends even more so than like the other positions. If you can get a guy that has that snap share and that target share, go ahead and pick him up in the bye week, because it may be that week that one of those he gets a touchdown. Because you add a touchdown, you get 3 catches, you have 35 yards, and you add a touchdown to that, and now you're talking. It might be the difference in your fantasy week.
When you mentioned Conk, he had 4 touchdown looks. He had 4 different passes in the end zone. Like, damn.
And I'll take those targets, any day, rather than somebody that had a good week, 2 weeks ago. No, I want that guy that last week had 4 red zone targets, because you can't take it back. A shame, that you wish it would have translated to 3 or 4 touchdowns, but take what you can get. And just the fact that the quarterback is paying attention to him, trying to get him the ball in the red zone, realizes how big of a target he is. You should realize too,
Definitely, and also with that, I was gonna say Robert Tonyan. I think it's a good stream against Detroit. Like you said earlier, he doesn't have his weapons. Roger doesn't have the same weapons anymore. So Tonyan is somebody that we all know that he prefers people who are veterans. Hayden Hurst in Cincinnati is going to be good as well, especially with the void of having Chase. And I don't know what's good. Well, my last 2 things on tight ends is I just can't explain Pitts. I don't know I can't explain him. I play him, he flops. I sit him, he shines. I play him, and this last week, I mean, he just catching the ball now. The yardage went up. The passing is up now, like I mentioned earlier with Marcus Mariota. And then he actually found the end zone. I don't know if he had to Google it, put it in the Waze, and I don't know what he used Google Maps, but he found the end zone. And I'm sitting there like, oh, that looks really good. Those 19.7 fantasy points on my bench look really good.
Fantastic.
I mean, and then while I'm playing Tyler Higbee, who he did have an injury, I'll give him that. However, his routes are decreasing. His routes have been decreasing over the last 2 weeks. It's 20% from 36%. And while he was injured, he did run 46 routes. So it's like, okay, you injured, but you still out there. So catch the ball.
But like we were talking about, that whole offense doesn't look like it did a year ago, Man. It's just not the same at all. I'm disappointed, fantasy wise, because we're drafting these guys to perform. And just another one, Mr. Knox. Like, where are you?
Don't you have Knox?
Yes, I got him. He's been on my bench for weeks. Somebody else you mentioned, Ingram. I think I picked him up 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, hold on to him.
I ran him last week. I'm gonna stick with him. Yeah, if he's on your wire, that's a hot commodity right there. He's definitely
hold on.
still on the uptick.
Definitely hold on to him. And the only thing about Likely, we mentioned earlier, they play Monday night, and we may not know about Mark Andrews' status until Monday night or Monday morning. So that's going to be kind of tricky. Now, if you're the Mark Andrews owner, then you smashed that Likely.
Right, and you just put him in there and hope for the rest, because at the very least he'll get some snaps, because Mark Andrews probably won't be 100%.
Now, but you know what? I was thinking though, as you say that, Likely is not a bad play to play him anyway, even if Andrews is a go, because remember, there's no Bateman, and Likely he I think it was like 46% of his actual routes he actually lined up as a wide receiver, similar to Kyle Pitts.
Mm-hmm.
So
so even if him and Andrews are both in the game, you remember when the Eagles were doing
beginning
that with and Goddard, and it can be effective because they would both have decent games. So it's definitely a possibility. I wouldn't mind starting him. I wouldn't mind putting him in if I was in a tight squeeze. He's one of the top ones on your waiver wire. Go ahead and run him.
Hey, but Mo, it don't have to be that tight. The first 2 games of the season, they ran a double tight on 61% of their routes.
Wow.
So they're not alien. They're not afraid to run double tight. Which is a good option.
They could switch and run the ball all day and not throw the ball.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
It's so disappointing. Like, I don't like those teams. And, they got a high power offense, but they don't have any identity. Like, one week Lamar's running everything. The next week Kenyon Drake's running everything. The next week they're throwing it to Duvernay. The next week it's like, come on. The only consistent thing in that offense is Mark Andrews. Even Lamar Jackson, like last week, was pedestrian because he actually used his running backs. I was like, wow, what a novel idea.
You see how productive running the ball was for Cleveland last night.
Yeah. Especially the deeper we get into the season, especially in these colder regions, you're going to see a lot more running back play because it's just, it's easier to pitch that ball or, just hand it right to the running back than to throw that hard, cold pigskin down the field just to bounce off somebody's hands or chest.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely.
So the office hours got to open up now, Guru. I need a defense this week. Actually, I need a quarterback and a defense, but I'm gonna figure out the quarterback thing because I told you my couple. PJ. But defenses are rough this bye week because it's like the teams that are on there, I don't trust them and I don't trust who they're playing.
Defenses.
Most times you're going to get some points out of a defense, but I have been the victim even this season of streaming a defense and getting bit by it, coming out with 2 points or 0.
Yeah, it depends on your league and your scoring, because I have one league that the defense, like literally everybody scores about the same, and the defense will score just about the same as a kicker. So, matter of fact, last week I won the league. I won the week, and I didn't even have a defense at all. And so,
most of my leagues, the defense scores more like a wide receiver or running back.
Yeah, it just depends on. Yeah, it just depends on the scoring, because that's on that same. I'm not giving them any shout outs, but on that same platform, but in a different league, the defense does score as much as the quarterback. So it just depends. Like we said at the beginning of the season, is knowing how your league is scoring and all of that. But for this upcoming week,
I see the Chiefs on quite a few waiver wires. Would you run them against Tennessee?
Against Tennessee? Oh yeah. And here's the reason why. I was just going to mention them. Kansas City. Here's the thing. We know Kansas City, they throw, so they score a lot. They score quickly. Usually how Cincinnati plays. So they score a lot and they score quickly. Now on the flip side, Tennessee, they run a lot. So while they're running, and again, this is more so for leagues that more so for leagues that give a lot of points or give points for tackles, because with this, Tennessee's going to be running the ball. So as they're running, and Henry's going to move the chains, but as they're running, it allows for the defense to have more tackles. And depending on who's going to be quarterbacking, Kansas City with Snead in the background, they'd be able to, snatch something out the air. And we know that Tennessee's going to have to throw the ball more because we're projecting that Kansas City's probably going to go up 28-7 by the second quarter. So Tennessee's going to have to throw the ball. And when you throw the ball, when the defense knows that you're going to throw the ball, I'm not going to have anybody in the box. I'm going to just go cover 2 and snatch what you throw up in the air. So that's why I think Kansas City would be a good choice. Now, Minnesota has Washington, and Washington has Minnesota. Now, Washington has been doing a lot better. I don't suggest them against Kirk Cousins, but I know you spoke highly of Tyler Heineke earlier. But Minnesota's defense has, they've been good. They've been serviceable. They've been able to push the agenda. And Heineke, I don't know if he's going to be able to keep up with the likes of Justin Jefferson and newly acquired Hawkinson and Dalvin Cook. So I think the offense might be a little bit too much for Washington.
Yeah, I wouldn't take Washington's defense. Yeah, at all. I would take Minnesota's. But yeah, Minnesota's definitely out there. I'm actually in a league that the Dolphins defense is on the wire while they were a hot thing early in the year, and they're playing Chicago. Chicago does not have much offense there, so if Dolphins is out there, go ahead, stream them. No?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right.
I mean, and their offense is starting to click again now that Tua's back. So again, Chicago's probably going to be playing from behind. So that means Justin Fields going to have to throw the ball, which means he's going to be on his back. He's going to be on his back for half the game because his offensive line can't get it done. I can see the Miami defense having quite a few sacks because sacks get you serious points too. Yes. So, yeah, I look at it like that.
And Jacksonville, I think Jacksonville has the Raiders. We got to see if they're all if the flu has already gone past them all already, if they're done with the flu stuff. And
the Bengals have Carolina.
I picked them up last
week. What's interesting is I will probably run the Carolina defense before I run the Bengals defense after watching last night. Oh my goodness,
bro! Look, okay, last night was last night. Carolina cannot run the ball the way Cleveland ran the ball to keep the ball away from them. And
their defense is solid. Carolina's defense is solid.
Who did Carolina play last week? Atlanta?
Yep.
Come on. Atlanta.
Come on, man.
Bro, Atlanta has no DB.
It was a divisional contest. That
doesn't count this time.
Do not pick up the Carolina kicker.
That does not count. I don't think he's on the team anymore. But do not count. No. And that fluke play, DJ Moore, Hail Mary, Atlanta is hot. Atlanta is hot garbage, bro. Atlanta's defense is garbage, and I'm not giving it. No,
the first place NFC South Falcons. Wait a minute, they're in. Aren't the?
It's only 3. Yeah, 3 and 5.
Aren't the Buccaneers in that division?
We've already gone over the Bucs game on Sunday. So,
but aren't they in that?
I think we were getting ready to talk about kickers.
All right. Okay, so you guys with the defense, because there's no telling where you two went.
No, we're going to kickers right now.
There's no
we did
all around the world. All right, hold up.
We picked cheerleaders too while you was gone.
You probably did.
So as far as kickers.
As
far as kickers. You want to check and see if Buckner's still on the waiver on the wire. A lot of people dropped them last week, because they had to make room for their for the buys. So you want to look and see if Buckner's still there. Jake Elliott is somebody who you should have in your lineup definitely. And I will also something about Suckup. This game between the Rams and the Bucs with Suckup and Gay, it might end up being a kick fest. Seeing as how both offenses have been dwindling lately, so you want to take a look at them as well.
I'm not gonna do it. Well, who was it? What were their names?
Matthew Gay and Ryan Suckup.
Yeah, don't pick up either of these guys.
So, in order to pick somebody up, you got to drop some people, right?
Yeah.
So,
no, wait. I'm talking no
Drop
wait.
both of
There's
them.
a couple of kickers out there on a couple of wires. Matt Prater, Mason Crosby, all the names. Because honestly, we're down at that time of year where if you got a kicker, you only have one kicker on your team. If he was on a bye last week, you dropped him, and you're not even thinking about going back and picking him up. So there's probably a couple of nice kickers on your waiver wire. Don't sweat it. Take the top one, or look at the matchup, and don't take anybody in that particular game.
And also look for who's kicking indoors as well. If you want
Yes,
an advantage, because we're getting to that time of the year.
Yes,
Big difference.
Who am I dropping? I'm dropping Brees this week.
Finally.
Yeah,
Right.
finally.
Okay.
I thought we discussed that last week. What about Trevor Lawrence? Are y'all dropping Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, I would have never picked him up, but
Okay, for those out there in fantasy land,
I know he was playing well. I don't like him. I don't like his name or anything. I don't like the way he looks.
Okay, all right. So that's a no for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, he's been out since like week 2.
I'm probably dropping Russell Wilson.
Okay, yeah, we're not going to talk about Russell. What about Eno Benjamin? Eno Benjamin, drop or keep?
Keep. What do you mean? Why would you drop him?
Eno
He's
Benjamin?
likely. What?
Go ahead.
Why would you drop him?
They don't have their 3 offensive linemen. That's why the ball wasn't moving, and James Conner is more than likely going to play.
I know he'll play. I don't think he's going to be the starter much longer if he is the starter this week.
All right, so we keep him there.
Yeah, keep
That's
him
cool.
definitely.
Derek Carr?
Keep. That was an anomaly. Look at his points throughout the season.
Never had him.
Yeah, he's had some really good games throughout. He won me a couple of weeks. I think that game was too bad for it to be like this is the trend. It's not a trend at all. It was one horrible week, and we're not going to put the entire offense on him because where was Mr. Jacobs?
All right. Well, on that same team, what about Hunter Renfrow?
Drop.
Okay. Damian Harris?
I'd probably keep him.
I give him another week,
Yeah.
but I really think he's pretty much out the door at this point. But
Harris Campbell, Indianapolis.
Yeah,
never had him.
I'll drop him because I don't want him.
I know y'all don't have him, but all right.
Right.
Darrell Henderson. Remember, this is not for you. This is for the people.
Is Kerryon Williams coming back this week? Well,
I
is he?
haven't heard any buzz in LA about that.
It's saying that he possibly can.
Yeah, they said that last week.
Yeah,
and players like that. Yeah, he might be back this week for 3 weeks straight.
Daniel Jones.
Who?
Michael Gallup.
Who Daniel Jones is this we talking about? Is this a different Daniel Jones?
Hey, a lot of people picked up Daniel Jones last week as a fill-in, and they kept.
Sorry to hear that. You could drop him this week.
Michael Gallup.
Who are they playing?
All right, Michael Gallup.
Or are they on a bye?
They're on a bye. That's why I'm moving on. Michael Gallup.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you can drop Daniel.
Do you hold Michael Gallup through the bye? Do you hold him at all?
Not me.
I wouldn't.
What about Wan'Dale Robinson?
No, never had him. No Giants wide receivers, man. None.
Thank you. And what about
If
Drake
you're not
London?
going to keep Daniel Jones, then why would you keep the receiver?
Drake London is rough. I still have him on the team. It's hard to drop him.
Wow. Oh yeah, I dropped him in 2 different leagues already because I can't. I just I can't.
It's a lot of bench spaces on the team that I have him on, though. A lot of bench spaces. So only reason I still have him.
Sometimes we gotta know when it's time to let go.
Know when to hold them. Know when to fold them.
That's really
know when to walk away. Know when to run. Is that where you're going with this?
No, I was just going with sometimes we gotta know when to let go. That's all. I mean, the reason I say this, I know a lot of times you have a lot of draft capital in somebody. So therefore, you drafted them. You know, this is what it was supposed to be. They got the big name, the big expectations. They may have had a good 1-2 weeks, and then they fell apart, which is Drake London. And you know, the difference between Drake London and Kyle Pitts, because they're both in that same horrific offense that wasn't throwing the ball up until this past week. But with Drake London, well, at least with Kyle Pitts, you could say he got his 897. With London, it's still like 3 for 23 and 4 for 13, and you know, it's nothing.
Yeah, you try not to romanticize with a draft pick like that. Let him go.
And as True was saying earlier, at this point in the season, you know, and actually Mojo, you came in and said the pretty much same thing. At this part of the season, you really need to assess your team. And just because you drafted somebody doesn't mean you have to hold on to them. Right. This is not a marriage. I mean, even in marriages, you can get a divorce. So
you can drop them too.
Who?
You can drop them too. Shoot, you don't even have to live with your kids. You know, get rid of them too.
He caught me so off guard. I was like, wait, what? Okay. All right. So yeah.
Drop everybody.
Right.
All right, so I still have Bateman on the team. I'm just gonna drop him.
I dropped Bateman already, but
I know I've been talking about dropping him for like 3 weeks, and I just
the thing about Bateman is if you need the room, drop him, but keep him in mind. Put him on your scout list or your whatever list to take a look at later on and go back and get him, because towards the end of the season he may prove to be valuable. But if you need the spot right now, I definitely dropped him and I put him on my watch list, because he can't do anything for me right now.
How about boy, this is a rough one because he's serviceable, but I'm about to drop him. Knox.
I dropped him like week 2.
Wow.
Well, now that's interesting. Well, Knox, I mean,
he's not terrible, but I got 2 tight ends that are better. But I do it, you know.
Oh, well, then you don't need them.
Yeah, but I got Njoku. I got Njoku as one of those tight ends.
Oh, the one that's hurt.
Yeah. So I'll probably keep him around until Njoku gets back.
Yeah.
Because the other tight end is Ingram, and I'm gonna run Ingram over Knox.
You should.
Yeah. But Njoku comes back, he's back in the starting lineup. I don't need Knox. I'll keep Ingram on the bench. So I don't know. I don't want to help anybody else out that might be sitting there with absolutely no tight end. So yeah.
Well, that's when you look at your upcoming schedule, who you're playing. Do they need a tight end? Look at this week, look at next week, and maybe the third week. After that, who cares if you drop somebody and somebody else picks them up, but you're not playing that person. So that them picking up Knox is not going to affect you at all. Unless
I don't care about not just who I'm playing. I'm looking at the whole league. Who don't have a tight end? Who's going to be without a tight end in the next couple bye weeks? Even if I'm not playing them, I might need to win that week and have somebody else lose so I can move up in the standings. So I'm not just going to throw a serviceable tight end out there for somebody else to snatch up. I'm going to keep moving.
Well,
I have a couple of open slots anyway. I'm dropping defense and stuff like that.
That's when you got to look at your league. If it's a 12-person league, are there really 11 other tight ends out there that are, that are startable, and especially for the upcoming weeks. So you got to take that. I have a question for y'all. In light of Jonathan Taylor not doing well, and we discussed him maybe not be feeling well, be 100%. And in light of how Stevenson has been improving, and the status of Swift, how would you rank Taylor, Swift, and Stevenson the rest of the schedule?
Well, I've never listened to her music, Taylor Swift, but Stevenson.
Only you. Only you. That was pretty clever, Mojo. That was pretty clever. Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
Swift. I did it again. Jonathan Smith, Taylor, Stevenson, and Swift. How would you rank those three rest of the season, full PPR?
I mean, if Swift is 100%,
Well, I mean, I don't know. That's
so that's
how would you rank them? You don't get to pick if it's gonna be 100% or not.
Oh,
so we going off where they are at the moment.
Where they are, who they are now.
At the moment,
I'd probably say Stevenson, Swift, Taylor. It does something ain't right, you know.
Yeah,
it don't feel right though. It don't feel right.
It doesn't.
That's exactly how I had them ranked, and I wanted to spit after I read it because I was like, that don't even sound right. But that's where we are with Taylor right now.
Yeah,
that's in Swift. He had 5 carries. I mean,
I think that changes. I really think he'll probably by the end of the season have better numbers out of that group. Just because they're still moving the ball and putting up points. They just can't stop anybody, and he's going to be a big part of that when he's healthy. But like we said, just going off where they are right now, yeah.
I tell you one thing though with Jonathan Taylor. For some reason this draft season, I got a lot of number 1 picks. One, I was in a live draft, and I'm talking to my friend, and he had number 2, I had number 1. I went Christian McCaffrey. Everybody looked at me like I was crazy. Right now he is.
How did that work out?
I believe he's 1-7 now.
Ooh.
And I believe in that league I'm 6-2. So I know Jonathan Taylor. I did pick him up in one league, but I don't know. Sometimes you just got to go with your gut.
Yeah. I had the same. I think I don't know. I think I had the opportunity to get Jonathan Taylor, and I passed him up and picked up Derrick Henry. Like I didn't. I'm just not a believer. You know how somebody have a season and then it's some players that just that next season is just not that same. It's a lot more film on you. I wasn't impressed with what I saw, and it just didn't feel like a fit. Just did, like you said, it just didn't feel like a fit for the way I wanted to build my team.
What would you two say? Because one of the biggest things in the draft was Christian McCaffrey, Barkley, taking a chance on both Barkley and Christian McCaffrey.
I would have said that McCaffrey was the bigger risk. Even though they were both out basically 2 years, McCaffrey always tries to come back, and then the workhorse load that he was assuming was, while Barkley is a workhorse back too, it's not the same. He's a bigger, more solid back. I just saw McCaffrey as, week 6 is going to be that same injury. So I didn't think Barkley was as big a risk. Yes, it was still a risk, but I thought he had a lot more consistent time off to come back closer to 100% than McCaffrey, I guess.
Okay. Well, I was just asking. I was looking. Swift only had 5 carries.
He didn't pick. He didn't pick either one of them. That's why. Because he was trying to.
I have CMC in 2 leagues. I do have Taylor in 1 league. That was an auto draft league, and if I had the number 1 pick, I would have went CMC. And the only reason is because I just felt like he would have been needed more, and they would have depended on him more in Carolina than in. And then also at that time it was Baker Mayfield as a quarterback, and so I just felt like, with Baker Mayfield, I know he's garbage, and sooner or later they'll figure it out too. And as of right now, he's healthy, but he's still the backup.
And it looks like he may remain the backup.
Yes, because we know.
DJ!
Pajama will be the starting quarterback.
I really hope he plays well, man. I'm rooting for the guy. I'm rooting for him.
Pajamas.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Pajamas walking.
In this past week, there was some pass interference calls. How do y'all feel about pass interference in fantasy?
I think you should get the yards.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just like nah, you can't get the yards, man.
Why
I
not?
mean, it's just like any penalty. Like I can't stand when a running back, gets like a 15-yard run and then they like, yeah, holding. He didn't
On the
hold
other side of the field.
Yeah. Illegal receiver downfield. Yeah, he didn't run the wrong way. Like, give me all my yards.
I ain't gonna
No,
lie.
that has no bearing on fantasy whatsoever, sir.
I've never liked the holding call. I figure I'm a man, you a man. You stop me however you can, I stop you however I can.
Away then.
I mean, other than maybe tripping, but then again, move your feet. You won't
he just grab you. He just
hey, then get off me. Grab him back. I don't know.
The ball is right there. Like
I mean, I don't know. Maybe like how they have the personal foul. You have or a holding. You have 5 yards of personal foul, 15 yards. And if the player, like if it's just blatant, the reason I ask is because you have a spot foul, versus a 15 yarder.
That's more what I was thinking with so for when a running back runs, he picks up 7 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a call on the defense.
Mm-hmm.
And they accept the penalty, he doesn't get the 7 yards. You know what I mean? They're like, if they accept the penalty, it's automatic first down, blah, blah, blah. And he loses the 7 yards. I think they should still get those yards, in fantasy. Absolutely. I think that's kind of that's just like the pass interference. I see what you're saying.
Now, what about issuing a personal foul if it's a pass interference?
Nah, not really.
Why not?
It's typically not intentional. Personal foul is something.
No, wait. Come on. I play DB and wide receiver. It is intentional at times. If I know I'm beat, I'm not gonna let you just freak out.
Well, yeah, that's different though. You don't see that often though.
We saw it on Sunday.
Only people like you would do that.
Hey, whatever. I don't care if it's in the game. It's in the game.
See it on Sunday. I know exactly the play you're talking about.
It's a part of the rules.
You're not going. I'm not just gonna let you beat me. I'm gonna go ahead. So at least we got another chance to stop you. I kind of get it.
You can get the yards, but exactly. I'm not gonna just let you get the touchdown. Come on now.
I want my touchdown.
I'm gonna tackle you, jump on your neck, whatever. But you're not catching this ball. And now we on the goal line. So now we can just put 8 in the box.
Do the old school whoop and trip him.
Hey, that'll work as well.
Well,
we got Thursday coming up, right?
Thursday coming up, Philadelphia.
There's nothing to discuss in that game. Start your Eagles, sit your Texans. All right, so
there you go.
What we got next?
There gotta be a Texan that you starting.
Oh, Pierce?
There you go.
Against
I don't know if I would start him. I don't know if I would start him.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only league that I have Pierce, I have Derrick Henry and Kenneth Walker. So Pierce will be on my bench.
Yeah, I don't like that.
But as we said, all these teams are NFL teams, 53-man roster, just like Pittsburgh was. So we'll see about that game.
Oh, so you're saying that there's a chance that the Houston Texans can
play football,
can take a win away from the
I'm saying that there's a chance that a player could put up a few points. So.
What about Brandon Cooks?
In fantasy, sir.
Okay, what about Brandon Cooks in fantasy?
Like Najee Harris, he had a couple of points.
But what about Brandon Cooks? Might be going against Slay.
I mean, I wouldn't play him necessarily. Yeah.
And Nico's not going to be there probably, Nico Collins. So,
whole thing is if you have better options, which you probably do for any Houston player. So,
yeah,
maybe the kicker,
whoever he is.
Long as he's not one of those ones.
$20 bet. What's the kicker name from Houston? 3, 2,
cheerleader.
1.
Cheer.
Well, don't worry. You can always get the kicker from LA or from Tampa.
All right, wrap it up, B. Wrap it up, Jay.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. Mojo Guru.
He'll go on all night if you let him.
I know he will. Cause see, he's in California and it's only
look, the sun is out.
The sun is out.
Exactly.
Like
I
ain't had no dinner.
I'm about to go have lunch.
I gotta go to sleep. I gotta go to work.
Right.
But Mojo Guru, 3 Faces of Fantasy, Jay the Truth. It has been a wonderful and insightful show. We will see you all on Sunday.